Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. You have got myself, Karen, for the next hour, and you've also got Eddie today as well.
Evening, guys.
So our next guest is the lovely Michelle Ruse.
From Iowa. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Nice to see you.
It is nice to see you. We've been seeing each other so much. Pretty soon we're going to have to send each other Christmas gifts.
That's it.
For those of you that don't know out there, when we do these interviews with Michelle, we have these chats. Normally, Eddie is around, but he will chat to Michelle before the interview, and he chats to Michelle after the interview, but never actually comes on to the interview. So today, we thought you could have a chat together on air for a change.
So it's a first for me.
Yeah, it's the first for Eddie, and it's you, Michelle. You are his first interviewee yet again. It was you last time on the last event. It's you again on this one.
Yes. So I'm excited. Let's bring it on.
That's it. Right. So what have you been up to just recently? Obviously, with the lockdown and everything that's going on, how's that kind of been affecting you over in the States at the moment?
2020 was a little bit of a challenge, but we were able to move some of our events, and we actually made them smaller and more COVID compliant. So we were able to finish a couple of those events, which we actually found out the smaller event, I enjoyed it more. I was able to actually spend more time with the people that came, tried new experiments, and really enjoyed it. Got to know people, what their likes were, different things. And a lot of times with the big events, you're so busy running around, you get to say hi, but you never get to see the people who actually come and buy the tickets.
Yeah, I mean, we usually find with a lot of our events are normally a smaller scale, and we prefer it that way because, like I say, it's more intimate with your guests, and you can give them a bit more time and, to do certain things and experiments with them. Whereas obviously if you've got a big group, it makes it a bit harder because you've got more people to try and cope with.
Oh, yes. And you always have that one in there that, when you say, please don't whisper, or if you make a noise or your stomach growls, let us know it's you. And no one ever speaks up, and everybody's like, did you hear that growl? So.
That's it. I mean, with a large group, it is so much more difficult to try and do like EVP work, especially. Sometimes if you've got like a spirit box or an app that you're listening to, you don't want it on too loud. But then if someone starts talking while you're trying to listen to it, it makes it very awkward.
Yes.
But, it's part parcel, I suppose, of doing the events in a way. But like I said, with the smaller groups, it's definitely a lot nicer.
I actually enjoyed it so much better. And, especially with someone with abilities, when you start getting so many people in there and you're opening up to, so everybody can know what's going on, you start getting a lot of people bring, hitchhikers with them. And so you never know what you're getting, did it come with somebody? Is it at the place? And it gets all mixed mashed together. So yeah, sometimes I look like my head's doing one of these things real quick.
Yeah, trying to process who's actually to do with the building or the location and who's like just visiting with a relative or something. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it must be difficult. I find the same because, like you said, you don't know if someone's piggybacking along or not. So it is a hard one. But do you prefer to do your public events, or do you like to do your private events, or have you not really got a preference depending on location and so on?
I think they kind of balance each other out. When you're working a private, you're just not working what's going on in the home. You're working with their emotions and different things that is in that family. So a lot of times that can get very overwhelming, depending on what kind of stressors are in the home. So having the events, I can kind of relax a little bit, enjoy doing the laughing, the cutting up, scream with the rest of them if something happens, like seeing your own shadow. But it kind of helps a balance for me, because when you're doing those privates, you're so invested in it, that um, you become part of them. And then you can't really, put a difference between what you're doing there. It gets, really deep in the soul.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's effective because you've not been able to physically go anywhere to physically go and help anyone either. So that makes it 10 times harder, especially when with what you do, the amount of people that you help and the amount of people that contact you, it must be so overwhelming and really difficult, like at the moment, with the fact that you can't actually physically go and help anyone. Because I know, obviously with the Warren Foundation, I know with Chris was supposed to have gone. He came over to the UK, obviously, and he was supposed to go to a couple of places, but he's not been able to go anywhere.
No.
So that must be the same for you, knowing that you can't go and help. You can help these people from afar, but you can't physically go in and help them right now. It must be so
Not at
difficult.
all. And it's nice to have the video chats, but you can't physically be there to see. So, you're just getting the emotions of the person you're talking to. And so it's really hard to say, yes, there's something there, or maybe it's just mainly you. And, these people are in a panic. They don't know what's going on. And now that everybody's on a lockdown, you think about all the different stressors we're all under. It doesn't matter where you live. And you're being locked in a home. And if you are fighting any type of depression or mental illness of some sort, it is so easily for you to, kind of do a self manifestation of something. And, and you're more aware of what's going on. And it becomes kind of, I need someone now, even knowing you can't. And you feel lost, because you really want to go to help those people and you can't go. And you never know how it ends up turning out to them. They get, either angry or they're very upset about, I need this now. I need it yesterday. And we just, in the States, we can't travel all over either. There's a lot of places where you just can't go into.
So if anyone that doesn't understand about self-manifestation, can you just touch on that, just to explain that to our viewers, so they get more of an understanding of what you're talking about? Because there might be people watching that don't know what that means.
Self-manifestation is when you yourself have a lot. It could be, sadness, anger, different types of anxiety. As that starts going, even if you had a past that, there was some type of abuse or neglect of any type, those start forming their own energy source. So, you might see a shadow person always looking over you, or, around the corner. That is something, that energy force that's coming off of you yourself. And so you're kind of seeing that whole ball of energy that you've built in so many years that has become its own little entity, and it has formed, and it has now it looks like it's stalking you.
So you froze them for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I was just looking like, did I not say enough?
No, you froze for a second. That's okay.
So I take it by that then, that sort of thing could affect, like, say, your mood swings, or, your emotions, and bring different things like that out and traits in you.
Yes, because it is attached to you. You know how we always talk about you see your own shadow? Well, this is kind of that same concept. It's the shadow that you have actually formed yourself of everything that's been going on. And, it has all your energies in there, depending on what those were and when they were. And so we're building, I always say, our own shadow people. And so if there's a lot of energy fed into one of those, you also can get the whole poltergeist type of activity too. And a lot of people don't realize sometimes we have to look inside ourselves to help get rid of that, because I can't personally just go in and do a cleansing in a home and it's going to disappear, because it's part of you.
That's really interesting. That's not something I've actually really thought about before. to be honest. Obviously, everything's energy, and I know that. But that, yeah, it's not something I've ever really thought about until you've just talked about it. Then I suppose you don't think about it though, do you? Really, it's not something you think about. That you forget that everything you're projecting comes back and so on. So obviously, there's going to be something.
Yeah. I mean, think about if your childhood wasn't the best and you've lived with because you're holding on to some anger that you've had all your life. When you manifest this thing, it is going to come back as almost like a negative entity. It's going to be, you're going to feel more of the anger. You're going to feel like it's wanting to hurt you. So whatever is getting filled, it's just like, we're doing a chemistry thing. We're pouring all sorts of different things into one thing, and it's just starting to build and build and build.
So obviously the person has to sort that out for themselves. So how would they go about doing that? Is it a case of, obviously, it's not a case of cleansing the home. It's kind of cleansing yourself, isn't it, in a way, I suppose, to try and it's heal from the inside out, surely, because
Correct.
It's not, you've created a physical thing, but like you said, it's created through energy and emotion to begin with. So it's kind of an inside out cleansing, I suppose, in a way.
And it's really hard. I do take some of those cases on. I do a lot of what spiritual cleansing is what I say. I pretty much let everybody know in advance that it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. I pretty much help you tear down to pretty much bare nothing, just your bones, and help you rebuild and start extracting that negativity away from you. And that's really hard for people because, one, they have to talk about things they've been hiding. Two, they need to look at themselves and figure out, what can I do in a change for myself, even if it's something very small, to help change the course of that negative. Would that be that every day I take a 5-minute walk? Because I don't do that, and just get, the sun or, the fresh air, different things. Or do I open the blinds and let some of the sunlight into a home? We dig really deep, and, when we have bad things that have happened to us as humans in our minds, we put it in a little filing cabinet and we close it up and think, well, if I don't talk about it, don't see it, I can keep it in the back of my mind and it's okay. Well, pretty soon that filing cabinet's going to explode and all the paper is going to fall everywhere. And so I help you grab each one of those and slowly pull each one out and work on each item to start building you back up.
And if, like I said, at the moment, obviously, you can't physically go out and do that. So is that something you can start to achieve via doing video in things like that? So if, say someone watching from the UK wanted to reach out to you and wanted help in that way, how would you do that? Would you do that as a video call, or would you?
Yep, video call. So I'm able to tap into them, and what I do is I use some of my abilities to kind of say, okay, I see you as a child and you always felt like you didn't belong or nobody wanted you, and start showing them what I'm kind of seeing. And then whatever one they want to grab onto first, that's when we decide to work together. I work side by side with them and help them go through each step.
Because that's what, obviously, this weekend, the festival, and what we're doing is raising awareness and funds for mental health and everything. And I think a lot of adults, it is harboring stuff from childhood.
Yes.
We've had this conversation before, you and I. I'm not sure we've done it on air, but we have had this conversation before about, like you said, harboring things from childhood that you kind of, it's lock and key situation, like you said, filing cabinet, lock and key situation, leave it, deal with it another day, or just never deal with it ever again, and then eventually it's going to come back up.
It will, because you can only stuff something in a cabinet so much until the door pops open and it all starts falling out. And there are times that one little thing might open that up and everything floods out. Well, then we just start picking up one piece at a time and working on it. And sometimes it's a lot of people, like when I say you have to forgive that person. Well, I'll never forgive that person for nothing. But people don't realize when you do say, I forgive that person, whether they're alive or they've passed on, it's kind of, you're slapping in their face saying, no, you haven't kept me down anymore. I can move past this. And you're actually forgiving for yourself. You're allowing yourself to really push that off, bury it, burn it, however you want to do it, and then try the next step in your life. That's where people have the biggest struggle, because when we say we forgive someone, we automatically think, oh, because we're forgiving them. We don't realize that forgiveness is for ourselves, for allowing ourselves to move past something and say, that isn't worth it. Forgiveness, move on.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of people don't think of it like that.
No, I've never thought of it like that, to be quite honest. That's quite interesting.
Getting
Yeah.
pretty deep in here, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Like I said, because of what we're doing this weekend, we can discuss these types of things that we probably wouldn't have discussed previously.
No.
It's good to actually talk about these different things. And that's the whole point of us doing what we're doing. It's not just all paranormal. It's also to talk about the other sides of things. Like you do so many different things. And you're highly trained in multiple things as well. It's not, so it's good for us to talk about stuff like that, and also for people to realize there's many layers to you, Michelle, isn't there? There's a massive amount of layers. There's so many things that you do. And I know you said about talking about demonology and things like that.
I've always looked at as the paranormal as a whole. It's not just spirits, we feed certain spirits. So we have to look at a full picture. A lot of paranormal people just want to go in and get that quick evidence, which we all do. There's nothing wrong with it. What is hurting these people, or is there different things? But I've always wanted to go one step further. And even with studying demonology and stuff, some of the fathers will probably shake their heads and go, oh, here she goes. But, we talk about mental health and stuff. And the first thing, if there is a, oppression or possession, which possessions are very rare. But when you start feeling negative energy that's oppressing you, it can look like coming on to a possession. But what we do is that we all go to the doctors and we start getting prescribed different types of pills to help balance us to make it through a day. But if we are getting that type of possession, it seems very odd to me. And these are my personal views. This is not something everybody has to believe in. But if we start taking all these medications, we're already in a depressed state. Now I feel like we're in this cloud, like a walking zombie. We're not there. And if we are getting taken over by any negative entity, because there are really nasty spirits out there that can do the same thing demons can do. And people seem to forget that. They think you can only get possessed if they're demons. But there are really foul negative energies out there that can also do the same thing to mimic. And I can't just constantly go in and command it to come out. I need that person to wake up from that sleep state to help me evict it out. They have to be just as strong. If I'm pulling, they need to be pushing.
Pushing, I was going to say,
So, I need that person to help evict. you know, instead of me working with, you know, either the priest or whoever I'm with, depending on the religion, to command it on a continuous basis, it's not going to listen to me. It's found a home where it's content. That person has to be, okay, it's time, you know, no rent paid, you need to go.
Yeah, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And can you explain to us about, you say when it's time to go, do exorcisms, because everybody watches the movies, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, everybody watches the movies, and they all think it's like, I command you, and
hold your crucifix and splash a bit of holy water, and
jobs are good. And well, 10 minutes later, all done, all gone. Thank you very much. Goodbye. You know, it doesn't work like that, does it? I know we laugh about it, but it, you know, unfortunately, when it does come to the films and things like that, that is when there's so many untruths then, because it's portrayed so wrongly.
Yes.
It's very unfortunate, especially when you meet someone like yourself, which is able to do this, to actually be able to explain to us what really happens, not what you see on the TV and in the movies and all this.
Well, I will tell you.
Rubbish. Trying to think of a polite word. He's laughing at me for trying to think of a polite word to use.
TV has like glorified it, you know, because we were all used to seeing something and this is how it's done. But people have to remember too, when you start feeling, or you're calling in and stating you think you're possessed, or you have a family member, there is so many things that play before even anybody goes in there. It could take months because they want you to have medical evaluation. We need to see where your mental state is. We need to see where your health state is. Are you strong enough? You know, if you have a weak heart and things like that, we need to know all that. We need to know about medication. We need to know if you've been seeing any counselors and things like that. We also look at the whole family dynamic. We need to know about all, you know, what's going on in the family, you know, or what has gone in the past. So there's all these different steps that have to be taken. So it can take forever. And, you know, like if you're working with, you know, the Catholics, you have to get permission. Exorcisms are done all over the world, all different religions, all different ways. And, you know, again, everybody commands it. I talked with the fathers. They shake their heads at me because I know the names that a lot of these demons have were given by men. You know, when they wrote them down, yes. I look at the demons as that angel that was either cast down or fallen. And they had some angelic name that we probably never heard of. So if I'm going there and I'm like, I'm commanding you, Eddie, to come out, but your name's not Eddie, you'll be looking like, oh, who's Eddie? I'm not coming, because somebody said that was the name. So that is why I feel it's so important that the person you're working with, you need to make sure they're spiritually strong enough. You know, they have to also be mentally strong enough and healthy enough, because they have to help evict as you're trying to help pull it out, because you really don't know the name of the entity. And again, demons are very rare. Negative energy or entities, a lot more common. And that could have been, you know, Mr. Robinson that lived down the road that was really nasty in life, and he just doesn't want to stay dead. So he's jumping people, and it reacts as a possession.
It's crazy, isn't it, the way you think about it like that? And it's also the fact of, like, it's about mimicking as well.
Yes.
That happens more often than people realise as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
That they're taking on a different form than what they actually are to get attention, or because the thing is, the more attention you're giving, the more you're feeding, because yes. The more energy you're giving them, the more you're feeding them, so the more energy they've got, so the more they can do.
Mm-hmm.
This is a conversation
Yeah, because if, let's
Yeah.
say you're terrified, me and Catherine were talking about this. Whatever you're very terrified of, it can mimic itself to that, to continue that fear that will actually feed that energy. So if you fear snakes, like, I mean, you just can't handle it, it could actually manifest itself to this crazy snake looking thing that would just torment you constantly to feed it the energy it needs.
Not nice to think about. Everybody thinks, oh, it's all lovely, it's fluffy and roses. You go to a medium and have a nice one-to-one reading from Granny or whatever, and that sort of thing. Well, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they don't really think about the other side of things, especially with all of us going into locations to do investigations and so on.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you're opening yourself up to. You don't know what's there when you're going in.
I mean, I've seen it where, I think it's some children there. And, and when you look at some of the history, it makes sense, though. There could be a child here, maybe two. But then I gotten to the point where I'm like, I need you to show me your true self. And these children end up turning out to be something a lot worse. So, they will mimic and can change themselves to get you to be close to them. And, a child spirit, everybody's drawn to it because they feel bad for it and all that. So now you've got emotions involved. And now you're feeding this thing. And when we use anything in the paranormal, you think about it, we talk about Ouija boards and stuff, and it's a bad thing and all this. But almost all the technology we use nowadays is the new version of it. So we are opening ourselves to whatever wants to come across, and we're welcoming that. So when you welcome there, guess what? It can welcome its way all the way home with you too, unless you close it off, like if you were to work the board. And some people don't do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a conversation we've had many of time, isn't it? And
yeah,
and do a close down.
Yeah.
When we've left a location or whilst leaving the location before getting in the car or whatever to go home, because we've got enough in this house. I don't really want to bring anything else back. We've got enough as it is without bringing any more. It's different that they came to the house, didn't they? So we didn't really have a lot of choice. They were here before us, so we weren't like we've moved in, we're going to evict you now.
Well, and that's the thing, some people say, I came into a home and I started noticing there was things here. And so we named him George, or we named him Bob. So now you have given your own life to this entity, which you don't know if it's good or bad, because a lot of them start off good and can turn bad. And now you're reaching out to us because George has turned into be some really evil person. Well, you've named it, you've given it the okay. And, if the door slams, you're like, oh, George, stop doing that. Well, yeah, that shouldn't. And if there is a George there, he should be in the light. He needs to go on, whether good, bad, or indifferent. And it's just odd when you watch some of the shows, when they do that in the shows. Well, this is a good one, so we don't have to worry about getting rid of it. And I'm like, yes, you do, because that light will bring in other stuff. And now you're putting the family right back in the same situation.
So we haven't done that. We haven't named anyone or anything like that.
Yeah, don't name them.
No, we haven't done anything like that. We're kind of, that's the last thing I'm going to do. And we don't even interact, do we? They're aware of us. We're aware of them, and that's pretty much it. Wouldn't think about, oh, come on, Saturday night, let's get the spirit box out. What should we do? Or do this.
Let's try and chat to them.
Yeah, we've had many people ask us, haven't we? Have you investigated your own house? I think you should investigate your house, or you don't know what else you could uncover. And
that's it. You don't know what you're going to bring out.
Well, and that should be your sanctuary. That should be where you're comfortable. And especially with you, hon. I mean, you got abilities like me. I mean, could you imagine if you invited the whole, cemetery over because you opened your home as a beacon, and you would never get any rest. But
well, that's
my
the thing.
home,
We do live opposite the cemetery. So we're kind of like the one-stop shop.
Yeah, see, there you
all
go.
the way
But
through.
a lot of
It's
people
a big
don't
cemetery as
understand
well. I
that.
don't want that lot here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. I've never seen such a big cemetery. So
Oh.
I'm like, no, thank you.
But I mean, a lot of people, I was like, you always have to have a certain place, whether you have abilities or not, that should be your sanctuary where you get away from it and nothing else is allowed in it. That is your home, your family. That is where you should be able to go. And so many people, have haunted dolls, or they do this because they want to be on a Facebook or on a Twitter or Instagram. And it's like, that makes no sense to me. There should be that boundary that you should understand one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't think. No, dolls. No, I'm done.
No.
Don't like dolls. I don't, possessed or not, I just don't like dolls.
We have got the one.
Well, it's
So that's mine.
but then that's yeah, but that was an African figure, isn't it? He's not.
Yeah, I've
really,
got a Nikondi.
Oh,
not actually. So it's not actually a doll, but he just sits in the corner. He's fine. We just leave him there,
Yeah, turn him around every once in a while so he doesn't follow you. I am not
That's
a doll
the weird
person.
thing. We have actually noticed that he does actually turn direction.
No, really?
Yeah.
He was always in my direction, so I started moving. I'm like, I don't want to sit here anymore because he always turns in my direction. I don't want to. I'm like, go. I won't repeat what I normally say.
Yeah.
But I'm like, go away. So many words. Then like, leave me alone. Bother, But we've you turn him back round, don't you? And just turn him back.
After a few days, you'll notice that it looks like he's just turned round again.
Yeah.
And he's looking back in the same direction.
Mm-mm.
I was like, he just can't stop looking at me. I said, what what can I say?
That's right.
I've resolved it though.
Yeah.
He now sits on a shelf right behind Karen's head,
Instead.
so she can't see him watching.
Yes, he was on the shelf now.
That's a good place because I do not do dolls. I just feel like, they're just a beacon for something to jump in.
Mhm.
And it really has nothing to do with Annabelle, like everyone talks about. But if you know the history of dolls, when they started making those, was to have mothers be able to take them to the funeral if they lost a child. And they would lay that while as the child's dying, hoping to capture their soul so they could keep that child. Yeah. So that right there really, really creeps me out. One, I feel bad because a soul shouldn't be trapped like that.
No.
And two, if you're, welcoming something like that, are you really getting the soul of your child, or have something else been invited to come in?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, me and dolls. No.
I draw the line of dolls. No. No.
Karen actually owns a porcelain doll that's nearly 4 foot tall.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's in the attic.
It lives in her mum's house in her attic because she won't have it.
My aunt gave it me as a gift because she's only got a son, so she hasn't got a daughter or a granddaughter to give it to. So she gave it to me years ago. And I'm only 5 foot and this doll's 4. And I'm like, are you joking? I'm not taking that anywhere with me. And I'm not ungrateful, but it scares the heck out of me. My mum had it. She did have it in the spare room on the bed, didn't she? And then she forgot it was there the one day. And I think it freaked her out a bit. And she was like, it's got to go. It's got to go. It's got to go. So she got my brother to put it in the attic. And she hasn't come. She hasn't come out since, and that's where she's been for. We've been together for like 8 years, so she's been up there a good 8 years.
Yeah,
probably a good 8 years. She's been up there for.
Oh, she's probably getting really angry too. Don't ever open that door.
I hope my mom's not watching.
Well, and that's the thing, you know, I think my mom always wondered why I wouldn't play with my dolls, or I would put them all in my closet and close the door, you know, and things like that. And as I got older, I finally explained to her, you know, the way I seen things, and the dolls scared me. And it kind of made me giggle. She goes, "Oh my God, I wouldn't, that wasn't like abuse to you, was it?" You know, she felt so
Oh,
bad. I'm like, "Oh, no, no, you wouldn't know. You know, she's a girl. Let's get her a doll." But she'd always want dolls all around my room, and, you know, all the corners, and you're laying in bed watching all these eyes. It was tormenting. Oh,
oh God. My other auntie on my mum's side, she's my mum's twin, isn't it? She collects them.
oh,
I used to no, I used to hate visiting her. I was like, I don't want to go. I like going because my uncle had a chocolate drawer. I didn't mind going for that, but I didn't like all the dolls.
no.
And it's horrible. She's got so many of them, and she still has them now. I'm like, how can you have those? I just think like the eyes are following you around the room.
Yeah. Oh,
They've
yeah.
got to be. But going back on to demonology and demons and things, with those, like you said, they haven't strictly got names. These are names that, yet again, these are names that have been given to them. I suppose this is through the generations that they've just come across these, and that's what they're called, and that's it, sort of thing.
We were trying to put almost like a face to this demon, give it, you know, so if we know this demon's name, then we know, we kind of try to make it almost like it's supposed to be a person, but it's not. I mean, you think about it, demons, angels, they've been around way before any of us or anything that's ever been around, you know. And just like when they talk about the devil, I mean, you think about it, the devil was God's most favorite angel. He made him so beautiful that, you know, with the light and everything, you couldn't even stare at him long enough. And then because of that, he had the ego, you know, because we all have free will. So there's an ego, and that's what, you know, how all of it, because he figured then I could actually be God instead of God being God. So you're thinking all this stuff has been written, and all these different things for us as people to get an understanding of what is that story that's being told. And we can't tell a story unless we give life to each character. And so when I see things that are very negative, I see them in forms of creatures, stuff you would see on a sci-fi channel. But I'm seeing them as the person who is terrified. I'm seeing them as they see them and their true self. They don't have a human look or anything like that. And, you know, so it's really hard for me to go in and, you know, assist with this, knowing that, you know, you're trying to call someone out that's not their name. And so, you know, they always say if they give you their name, then they have to leave. I don't think they leave until the person on the inside is helping you push them out. They finally feel strong enough because they have an army. They're calling on God. They're calling, you know, on Jesus and asking the angels to help. They get that strength, and they're helping you get out whatever's in them. And those are the way I believe and how I see it would work. And I feel that with all the different types of what we call demons, because each have their own category of demons, we should be looking at it in that sense instead of trying to give it its own character, because it shouldn't have one. It should not be recognized.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Moving on to a lighter subject, where you have your own events company that anybody isn't aware.
Yes.
And you do run different types of events. So can you tell everybody about your group? And I know you've got, I can't think of everybody's names, but last time we had fans, we were able to chat to the whole team, weren't we? They all took a turn, didn't they, to come and sit in the chair and talk to us and everything. So that was really cool. And we got to know about, you were talking more so about equipment and things like that, weren't you?
Yeah.
and what equipment you get built for you as a team and everything. So you're quite fortunate you've got someone on your team that's able to build different pieces of equipment for you.
Yes, and we actually also have another gentleman. He actually does equipment. That's what he does. He builds ghost equipment, but he does one of a kind stuff. So,
Yeah.
like, if there was something you wanted, it would be built just for you, and you're going to know not 10 other people down the road will have the same thing. And that I kind of like that because we kind of think outside the box. What can we use? What kind of frequency? What kind of different energy sources instead of always red or green light? You know, pretty soon the spirits will be like, you know, really, I've done this red green light for so long. I'm really bored. Let's do something different. So we do a small events, and we do it to have fun, but also educational. Because there are some people that are coming there, even though they might not be saying it, but they're wanting to know, is there that, you know, life after death? You know, is there something going on? Maybe they are having something happening in their home, but they don't want to talk about it. So they're coming to see, do they really need to be afraid of something? So a lot of ours, we do the investigation, but I spend a lot of my time just sitting and chatting with people with questions just like that. So it kind of gives that personal, you know, one-on-one with them and answering questions I normally wouldn't be able to.
You've got, we were chatting earlier, so I'm already aware of this anyway because I've shared it for you and everything, but you have got some exciting times coming up this year. You've got a lot of events coming up. You've got a lot that you're busy doing with yourself and your team.
Yes.
And then obviously you've got the foundation as well that you work with. And then on top of all of that, you and Catherine are doing a tour of Scotland.
That one is so exciting. One, I've never been to Scotland. You know, Germany is pretty much all I know. And it is actually just like one of our investigations, but it's more of a tour. So only 24 people are able to go. And we'll be actually traveling up the coastline of Scotland into different areas. Where they had some of the witch trials, some paranormal. So we're going to do a little bit of everything there, from doing some paranormal stuff, bringing some of our equipment. And the biggest one that I am really excited is to go see Aleister Crowley's mansion. I've heard so many things, and I just want to be able to walk on the land itself just to kind of see what's going on there. And actually going to some castles. I've never seen a castle in person.
So you'll have plenty of castles to visit.
Yeah. It was crazy because Maria, who actually has the tour company that does all this, you know, when she'd asked me if I'd like to do it, she started trying to map out the best way. And she had called me. She goes, "You're not going to believe it. There is actually a castle named Michelle." And I'm like, yeah, we're going there. So I can go I can do a selfie and say, "Look, my name."
My castle.
That's so cool. So whereabouts are you going?
I know we're going to be going to Aberdeen and some of those places. We're still kind of fixing up the map because some things might change because of certain lockdowns. So we just kind of have a rough you know, estimate of where we're going right now. If they just jump on to my Facebook page, you know, Riverside, Iowa Paranormal, we have it. There's a couple of links they can click on, and it'll kind of give them an idea where we're thinking of going first. I know Aleister Crowley's mansion is in there, and that's over there by Nessie, because I guess, you know, remember, he is the one that called upon her. And then Aberdeen for sure. And I know that we're trying to just close in a couple other places.
Yeah, that's the difficult thing at the moment for everyone, especially if we're going to come over here, is this horrible situation we've all been stuck in for a ridiculous amount of time now.
Yes.
It is kind of, it puts a lot of plans on hold, or a lot of plans change. You know, we were chatting earlier, obviously this weekend we plan to have some lives from different places. But unfortunately, due to the new lockdowns and things, we've had to change plans. And this is just for the online event that we're bringing to everyone this week, today, is we've had to make changes that people aren't aware of, because we didn't know that last week they were going to say, hey, do you know what, we're going to have another lockdown, so you can't go and film where you want to go and film, and so on. So we're fortunate that we have got some stuff that has already been filmed. So that's good. But then any of the live things that we decide, obviously we can't do that now, because it wouldn't be right to do for anyone to be going out doing anything like that, because it's not a necessity.
No. And, and it's kind of like that here in the States. We have a little bit more of a leniency than you do right now. Some states are a little tighter than others. But we still are looking, when are we going to start an event? Where would we go? How safe is it in that area? But it's kind of hard to navigate. But I think if we're just doing a little at a time, that's going to help a lot of people too. Even if it's just get them out for an hour or two somewhere, we're getting them out. And again, like all of our events, they're very small. We have limited tickets. We do have, ask for you to wear your mask. We have hand sanitizer. We don't put big groups together. We keep everyone split up. So, just so we can just do a little at a time.
So what locations are you going to? Planning to hopefully go to? Because last time we spoke, I think you're going to Malvern Manor. I think you were off there the weekend after our last event.
Yes.
Because the last festival we had Josh Hurd, didn't we?
Yeah.
From the Malvern Manor on. And that was the last time we spoke. You said that you were going there. I think it was the following weekend you were due to go there.
Yes.
Did you manage to go? Were you able to go then?
Yes, we were able to go. It was Halloween night. It was a blue moon. That place is insane. When you look on the outside, it looks like just a little house. You go inside, this thing is huge, and you get turned around very easily. So much activity. It definitely was one for the books. We are going again this year. We have it booked for this year. It's going to be the Saturday, because I think Halloween's on Sunday. So we'll do it the Saturday before Halloween. And we're keeping our fingers crossed for that one to make sure we can go through. We just added a new one. It's in Oklahoma. So our Texas chapter is actually going there, and it's an asylum. So that's brand new. We'll have to see how that works. That one's also very limited tickets and things too. We've got a schoolhouse we're doing this year. We've got a hotel. We've got a theater, and we got a couple bed and breakfasts that we're doing. So it's going to be exciting. So you got a lot going on. Yeah.
Well, that's great that you've got so much planned and to look forward to. We had a lot. We did have a lot.
Yeah.
Because we moved out all last year to this year. Then obviously that's kind of changed again. So who knows?
Well, maybe one day when all these lockdowns are done, you guys can come and visit here, and I will take you to some of ours around here. So we'll see if the spirits are the same on both sides of the water.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we haven't been up to Scotland, so you're probably going to end up going to Scotland even before we have, and we live over here. So you'll have to do the same. Let us know about that.
There's going to be a lot of lives and selfies, because I'm going to feel, just even though I'm supposed to help with the tour and be very professional, I'm still going to look like that tourist doing one of these the whole time,
All we're going to see is all these pictures of you and Catherine.
Yeah.
Ahead of you. You'll be asking everybody, can you upload your photos to the event, please, after the event? And they're like 90% is just for you and Catherine.
Yep. Just going, hello.
Photo bombing everybody.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good, because it is also, everybody's going to have their places to stay. You know, we actually have like a tour bus that takes us to each area. So it's not like I'm going to visit somewhere and just be lost, like, where do I go? It's going to be great that everybody will be able to see all these sites and not look like that lost tourist when you go somewhere. So it's all of it is exciting, you know, and also opening up there to something different, something I've never been to. I'm not doing any research on any of it because I don't want anything that I get, you know, look like I've been influenced. So I'm going in there as blind as possible to see what I can get and be able to help on the tour.
That should be quite interesting to see what you get then.
Yeah.
Yeah. See if it's all validated in the records.
Yes. And I know other people will have all the information. So this way they'll be able to tell me, because that's one thing I really am a stickler with is just like when we do intakes, whether it's for the foundation or for, you know, RIP, is I don't want to know what's going on the intake. I have an intake coordinator. We have people doing it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see pictures, audio until after I go in and make that visit, because I never want somebody to feel that I'm getting influenced. And everybody's like, you're crazy. You should know. No, that's why I trust my team to make sure it's safe to go in there and what's going on. And I can at least have that very honest conversation with whoever I'm dealing with.
Yeah, I'd say when we do it, Karen doesn't like to know any information, or does Jolene. Whereas me and a couple of the other guys, we like to use our kit. So we like to kind of have a bit of background information so that we know what to try in certain areas. Like if there's children in certain areas, then you can take like toys and trigger objects that they would actually play with, like from their sort of era. So in one way, it's useful for like us guys with the kit.
Yeah.
But obviously, like on a medium side, I completely understand 100% that you don't want to know the information so that you can get it all validated afterwards.
Yeah. And see, and then they have you guys to, you know, you're like that protection because you know what you're getting into. And that's where the trust comes with your team. And that's kind of how we work too.
Yeah, I think that's important though, isn't it? This is a conversation that Geraldine and I was, I can't remember who we were, how many people interviewed. Geraldine and I was talking about this, I can't remember who we were talking about it to. And she was saying for the first time ever, because of the current situation, she's been to a location to do some filming for us on her own. And it's difficult because she's actually had to do research for the first time. Because she can't just go in and rely on herself and her abilities and everything else like she'd normally do, because she hasn't got she's got that team, but she hasn't got a physical team there with her. So she's actually had to do some research this time around, and she found it really, really hard. We were talking about it the other day, and she said to me, I found it really difficult to actually do research on a location before going into it. So because I've never done that. Yeah. Because she's got to be the historian, she's got to be the researcher, she's got to be the tech person, and she's got to be the medium all in one thing, because there is only her, literally. Unfortunately, nobody else can go with her for obvious reasons. So
it's
for her,
and you don't realize how important each member of your team is until that one person can't maybe go with you or couldn't do something for you. It puts a big hole in it, and you do have to trust all your team, you know, whether it's over video chat or if you're at a location or a private, everybody plays a really important role. That's how it kind of works. There can't be the big egos that I always talk about, because we all have to be able to fall back on each other.
Yeah, and that's what you do, not just your team, but also with the foundation as well. You've got your board of directors, and you've got so many people that help you with that, haven't you? It's people don't realize it is a big network.
Yeah, it's huge, and And we do have to all trust each other because, you know, everybody has a strength somewhere. And so we want to make sure, you know, with my teams, with the foundation, you find the strength they have and find that fit. One, you know, this way you want them to be able to excel in it and make it something different. So if you give it to them, let them grow it into something they can put together. And you have to be able to count on that person's information, you know, of this is what the location's like. Here are some of the spots that could be dangerous, you know, things like that. And a lot of people don't realize how important, you know, you get a group of people, you know, they've been sitting around barbecuing, doing whatever, and they become a team, but they really don't know each other and know what each person does. So you see them sometimes in those areas and they're running back and forth like, what's going on? What's going on? And I can't work that way. And I'm pretty sure you guys can't work that way. So you definitely have to have all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. But Michelle, I want to say time's run away with us. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate it. At the bottom of the screen, everybody, this is what we are raising funds for this weekend. It's for CALM, Campaign Against Living Miserably, which support people with mental health and suicide awareness and prevention. So the link's waiting for it to go across now.
Yeah.
So the link is going across the bottom of the screen. So any donations would be gratefully received. And we thank you, Michelle, for taking part in this weekend's event. It means a lot to us, and we appreciate everybody that has helped us and that are taking part in this event this weekend, because it's about raising funds and awareness for this charity. And like you said, you were talking about mental health, and mental health does play a big part in the paranormal field, whether you believe it does or whether you don't, then it does. So regardless of how on your belief system with it, mental health is a big thing when it comes to investigating and spirituality and in so many different areas of things we come into contact with. So it's good to give something back, and that's why we're doing this weekend, to give something back and to help raise awareness and some needed funds. So we just want to thank you again for joining us. And I'm just going to play a little video for everybody about this weekend. And if you haven't seen this, we've been on all weekend, and we've got so much more coming up for you as well. So I'm just going to play a little video for everyone. And I just want to say thank you again, Michelle. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. And I had an amazing time, like always.